My brother Zachary is a brain tumor survivor. He was diagnosed with medulloblastoma in 1998.
Our son, when he was 18 months old, his name is Zachary, we found out he had a brain tumor. They did an MRI and said that he had a mass and that he was going to have to go to St. Louis Children's and have surgery, which is pretty scary in itself when you have an 18-month-old baby that's going to have brain surgery.
Then after the MRI, the doctor brought us into the office, or brought us and told us to take the MRI films over to Children's Hospital, I think, and do it right away. So at that point, Debbie knew about it. Debbie figured out what was going on. I didn't. It kind of just went right over my head.
But really the only thing that, as far as problems he was having neurologically, that gave us an idea that something was wrong was difficulty with his balance.
We went into the doctor's office and he sat us down and he told us that Zachary had a brain tumor. I don't think I'd ever cried like that.
And once they did the surgery, they said they got all of it except for a paper thin layer, but it was on the brain stem. And since it was on the brain stem, they couldn't go any further to take it off. And so after that, they tested it, found out it was medulloblastoma, which is malignant. Well, he had the 18 months of chemotherapy to start with. They told us from the beginning that chemotherapy does not work on this type of brain tumor. So we were only doing it to try and hold it back as long as we could because he was too young for radiation. So we did the 18 months of chemo, which did I guess what it's supposed to. But after he finished, we had 6 months after that, and they did another MRI and found out it had come back. It had come back in 3 different areas of the brain, so they said they could only assume that it was all throughout the spinal fluid in the brain and the spine. So they decided to irradiate the whole brain and spine. Radiation was really difficult. That was the hardest thing to put him through. He had this little mask. This is what it looked like. They called it a map. They mapped out everywhere that the radiation needed to penetrate. That way they would make sure that they were radiating the areas they wanted to and not the areas they didn't, like the throat and the eyes. So they would put them on the table and screw this down over their face. He was asleep, he had anesthesia, but we knew going in that the radiation was going to cause the most damage and long-term side effects. One of the programs that we like to participate in is the Ride for Kids. It's run by the Pediatric Brain Tumor Foundation, and there's really not enough research, governmentally funded research out there right now to find a cure and the cause of brain tumors. And the Ride for Kids raises money to support those causes and support the families.
96% of all collections go to cancer research. Well, obviously, my son has had a brain tumor, and so that's a big thing for me.
How is Zachary doing today? He is 16. He is a troublemaker. He likes to ride his go-kart, but now that he's 16, he's got his driver's permit and is bothering us to drive a car constantly. And he's doing very well.
My hobbies are I like to ride my go-kart that goes 45 miles an hour. I have 6 guns. I have a 12 gauge, 410, 308, and a 270, and a 22. I like to play the Xbox and on my computer. Call of Duty.
After surgeries, 18 months of chemotherapy, and 6 weeks of radiation, he has been cancer-free for almost 13 years. Zachary is a survivor.